Alright, you bastards, this is Some-Belgian-prepper, and today I'm going to talk about 10 fresh foods you can store for a long time. And why is this important? Well, the reason why I want to talk about fresh food is because these have more nutritional values, better for morale, better for all health, and it is also less processed, and that has also many health benefits. And also the reason why I say for long-term storage, I'm talking about foods that you can keep and keep it to the next harvest or whatever it is that you're planning to do in a bug out scenario. So these are foods that you can even store in your bug out bag and foods that you can keep in a bug in scenario. So we're going to talk about whole foods. I'm talking about foods that needs minimal processing. So we're not going to talk about hardtacks because you need to cook them all. I'm talking about foods that you can almost use directly. Not nothing processed, nothing special. So also not things like pemmican and that kind of stuff. Things that require a minimal amount of processing. So the first one I would say on the list is potatoes. Just humble potatoes. If you store them well in a dry, well ventilated place without sunlight and without pests that can reach them or insects, you can store them 6 to 12 months depending on what variety you have. But yeah, potatoes, they are containing around 85 to 110 calories for each 100 gram. So you would think that's not a lot, but the nutritional value of these are potassium, vitamin C, B6, and yeah, they are tasty. You can do a lot of things with them. Uh, there are 100 types of ways to prepare them, and yeah, everybody likes a potato. Good for your health, easy to grow. So even if you're not planning to eat them, you can keep them in storage for a next harvest to grow them. So that's the number one I would say to keep in your pantry, or you can even take them in your bug out bag. Just a couple of potatoes. Make sure they don't get wet, and yeah, just do whatever it. Put them in hot ash on top of coals in a pan, cook them in a pot. You can do a lot of things with them. All right. Number two, I would say, is onions. Onions, yeah, they don't have that much calories, only about 39 calories for each 100 grams. But what they lack in calories, they make up in you can store them for a long time. Yet again, if you store them correctly, you can keep them for almost over half a year. Sometimes, depending on what variety, even a year, and you got to be lucky with the storage. But yeah, you can store them for a long time. They got their peels, so if you're going to put them in a bug out bag, make sure that your bug out bag will not be filled with these onion skins. But the most thing they're lacking up, they make up for in lack of calories, I would say, is in taste. Onions are a great way to give taste to your food. They contain neutral values like uh, they contain sugars. So if you're going to cook them in a pan, you can caramelize a little bit in the pan, which is very good for taste and therefore for morale. Vitamin C, vitamin B6, B9, potassium. They contain all these kind of good stuff. So that's also the reason why I would, especially together with potatoes, onions and potatoes are great. Um, the next thing I would say is, in Belgium we call it husp, but you will know it as ham. In this case, smoked ham. And yeah, you can have ham in different kind of packages. Because I don't use it that much. I cut it in smaller pieces and I put it in a vacuum bag. But you can also have a whole ham. Buy it once in a year. Hang it up with a cotton in a cotton storage so it can dry out, but insects cannot reach it. And if something gets a little bit moldy, you can just cut it off and go to the eat from the next layer. So you can store it depending on what variety of smoked or salted ham you got. It can go from 6 months to a year. There are even certain hams, dried or smoked in a way that they can even go 2 years, just hanging there in a dry place with minimal sun, in a protective layer that can breathe away from moisture and pests. So yeah, dried ham contains around 200 calories for each 100 gram, and yeah, they contain a lot of salt. So salt in a survival scenario, salt could be important, so you don't have to look at your salt intake. With this, it could be very handy. They contain vitamin B, protein, selenium, phosphorus, zinc, and they are also tasty, and you can store them long in a bubble bag. But you have to be carefully. If you store meat in a bubble bag like this, make sure that it's packaged very well, because it can attract certain animals, which can be annoying if they try to gnaw to your bubble bag. But for the rest, it is also very good for morale, especially if you're going on long walks. Contain also fat. So what you can do is you can cut this fat off, boil it or bake it in a pan, and use that fat to perhaps enrich some other foods like potatoes or onions. So dried ham, I would definitely say, is a fresh food that you can store for a very long time. And next one is, I would say, garlic. Yeah, garlic, yet again, does not contain a lot of calories. It's about 140 calories for each 100 grams. But what they, yet again, like with the onion, what they lack in calories, they give in nutritional value vitamin B, manganese, vitamin C, potassium, and also allicin. Allicin, I think it's called in English, which is a compound that helps to boost your immune system, and it is very healthy. Is a good flavor enrichment to any food you put in. You put it in, and yeah, you will not be the kisser of the month, but yeah, I would say garlic definitely, and you can store it for a very long time. And yet again, reuse it to grow new crops from it. Right. Next one, I would say dried peas. I think it's called, in English, it's called chickpeas. So yeah, I will say dried peas, because if you buy them fresh, they go bad very rapid. But I made a video about why peas are one of the best survival foods. I made a whole video about it, but in short, it contains 364 calories for each 100 grams. It also contains protein, fiber, copper, vitamin B9, iron, manganese. So yeah, and it's easy to keep. You can regrow it in certain ways, I would say, but you can also keep it in water and let it sprout a little bit to get even more nutritional value from it. And yeah, you can store it for a very long time. If they are dried, you can store them for years, I would say. This one I have stored for 3 years. I've stored these, and these are still, I still eat from them. I eat from them today, so not a problem. Next one, I would say beans, dried beans, and I'm going to say for nutritional value, it's exact the same almost like peas. So yeah, but they contain a little bit more things like fiber and protein, and they are less caloric, so 320 calories for each 100 grams, easy to store, and you have to actually soak them in water, just like peas, dried peas. You have to soak them in water before you're going to bake them or something. But if you going to take them with a bucket bag, always boil them before, because that's the fastest way to make them edible, so to say. So yeah, that's something that you need to take in account. Next thing I would say is just humble corn. Just corn kernels, and yeah, corn is a lot of calories, about 450 calories for each 100 grams, so that's a lot of calories. Contain fiber, magnesium, potassium, iron, a little bit sugar, and a little bit of sodium. And yeah, you can do some things with them depending on what type of corn you got. You can make popcorn from them in an improvised way, which is good for morale. You can just cook them, bake them, boil them, and it's just easy to prepare, easy to keep. And yeah, in a bug out bag, I would certainly say keep some dried corn inside of it. Next thing I would say is white rice. White rice, the reason why I have a lot of rice, I made a lot of mentions of it and in videos. You can store dried white rice for 30 to 35 years if you store them correctly. In a dry place, no sun, no pest, that kind of stuff. So red rice contains about 130 calories for each 100 grams. They contain fiber, manganese, B9, vitamin B1, vitamin iron, that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's perhaps a little bit less on the caloric way, but it's a good pillar. And if you combine them with something like garlic, potatoes, and onions, you can make one hell of a meal with them. And like I said, it stores very good. So for a bug-in scenario, very good. For a bug-out scenario, I would say you keep some rice to change it off, but it is mostly about the calories with the rice, and you always have to boil it. So yeah. Next one I would say is borscht. I made a whole video about this on how to prepare these, so I would say look it up. And talking about looking up, if you're interested in detective stories, there will be a link to my 2 books called Bloody Crosses and The Jason Murders, which is a detective series. If you're interested, take a look in the description. So, borscht. Borscht is actually our sort of beef jerky, but you have smashed the fibers open and let it dry. And that is basically what borscht is. It's what Genghis Khan and the Han, what is it? The Mongol horde, what they carried on their horses for 120 days just in their saddle tasses. So imagine how long it can take if you keep them in something like a vacuum bag or something better than that, or salt them, whatever. So these are made out of beef, and it can contain up between 300 and 400 calories for each 100 grams. So that's a lot of calories in a small package, and they contain things like fat, iron, zinc, protein, selenium, phosphorus. So yeah, also good. It also tastes very good because the fibers are split more open. It has a distinguished taste, I would say, and you can mix it together with things like rice or anything else that I have put here in. So yeah, if the Mongol horde can keep this 120 days just in their saddle sacks, imagine what you can do with your bug out bag. And we're coming to the last one, and perhaps this is actually one of the better ones, I would say. Keep the best for last. Oatmeal. Oatmeal, 280 calories for each 100 grams. They contain fiber, protein, manganese, iron, and all that kind of goodies. And yeah, they are very light to carry. They are easy to prepare. You can do it on the traditional ways like boiling, baking, that kind of stuff. But what I like about oatmeal to put in your bug out bag is you can just take a cup, some water, mix it with oatmeal, and then you can just eat it like a cold porridge. So you can eat it anytime you want, in any way you want to prepare it, which is very good. And perhaps I would advise this one the most to keep in your bug out bag, but be aware that store it in a good way. Store it with vacuum bags or store it in a way that it cannot get moldy by coming in contact with moist or with pests, especially like these little beetles. I think it's called a snout beetle or something. So yeah, oatmeal, very good idea. So these were 10 fresh foods that you can store for a very long time. If you know any other fresh foods that you can store for a long time, please let me know. I'm always eager to learn new things, and I hope this video was a little bit interesting for your bug out and a bug-in scenario. And if you want to go through the apocalypse or shitty defense scenario in a healthy way. So that's very important, because if you're only going to rely on something like MREs, how do you say this, uh, freeze dry foods and all that kind of stuff in cans, yeah, you will get sick real quickly from it. So yeah, that's the reason why I would say fresh foods are better, and these are the first thing you should usually use. So if your disaster will last more than half a year to a year, these are the foods I would eat the first, and keep the MREs and other processed foods in reserve or as an insurance. Alright, so see you next video. Cheers!